Welcome to Teacher Talk because we're the only podcast for educators where the lesson plan is optional, but the coffee isn't. And so, Doc, as we push up against Easter, I'm wondering just this
Mm.
one thing: will you be eating Cadbury eggs or Peeps? Which one will you be taking up
Well, I'm
this
gonna
week?
throw you completely on your head. I don't eat either. I eat Reese's peanut butter eggs.
That's
That's my go-to.
that is exactly what I eat. Who in the world, if you're out there, listeners, wherever you're listening at, whether you're listening on the live or Spotify or wherever it is that you're listening to us, tell us what you're going to be eating for Easter. Is it going to be Cadbury eggs or Peeps? You can put that in the chat down in the comments because I'm dying to know. Okay, I'm with Lisa. I'm going to eat Reese's peanut butter eggs. That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to have. I'm not going to do either one of them. So we want to talk tonight just a little bit about what it is about teaching and teachers that we never actually finish our day. All of our work seems to come home with us. It's always inside of our brain. And at the heart of a teacher, seemingly we can't turn work off. And so, Lisa, we're here on Sunday nights, and I'm just wondering, have you ever struggled with the Sunday night scaries? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm experiencing it today.
Right now today.
I didn't get to turn off this weekend at all. Had to move my son into his apartment. So without that break, with just that constant go, 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 I'm already feeling like my to-do list and like that pressure and do I have my clothes ready for the week? And it's a short week for us. I know some people or a lot of people are in spring break, but we're not. We're we're still going.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Two
2
more
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah, we have 2 more weeks, but we do
Yep.
have a 4-day work week. So that's a little bit of a silver lining. But yeah,
So
those Sunday scaries are real.
what causes the Sunday scaries?
I just think it's everything. When we don't ever, and we're going to talk about that today, but when we don't ever have that pause button pushed, or even just getting off that hamster wheel for just a minute, just to kind of let our bodies come down, especially our nervous system, we have really got to learn how to hit that pause. And when we don't do that, and like I said,
Mm.
I drove, a couple hours south, a couple hours back, renting U-Hauls up and down 3 flights of stairs, which ugh. But so all this go, 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 when the body doesn't have that pause and stop, it doesn't allow kind of that reset, and then
Mhm.
everything just flows into each other.
I get to talk to like hundreds and hundreds of teachers, sometimes thousands of teachers a week. And there are so many teachers that feel like this struggle of not being able to turn their brain off and not being able to uh, release work or
Right.
feel like they've done enough. They feel like that's a personal failure. Is it a personal failure?
It's definitely not a personal failure. I think the system is set up that it leads us to that point. I think we
Mm,
can all agree that, and I know we've talked about it before, but it's this never ending cycle of more stuff added to the to do list without us being able to check anything off.
yep,
So it's like, oh, that's great that you have your lesson plan this year. Guess what? You're
absolutely.
having a new curriculum next year or
Absolutely.
a whole new set of whatever, but it's
Hmm.
it's just that constant flow.
Yep. So I'm going to share a slide right here with you and with everybody that kind of explains what we're talking about whenever we are talking about this problem that all educators seem to deal with right here. All right. It's like we get caught on this endless video. It's like a video that just never ends. The day just continues to go on and on and on. And the very best that we can ever get out of it is to be placed on pause. And,
Mhm.
whenever you put a video on pause and you leave it there long enough, you ever come back and try to start it back up, it just struggles to get started back up, and it's
Mhm.
because it never had an opportunity to reset. And that's exactly what you end up having to do is you have to reset your or you have to refresh your entire browser in order to get the video to work. And that's exactly what I think is happening to teachers. This is not a personal failure at all. It's not a sign of laziness. It is a natural physiological response of a human being that's trying to run a race but yet they don't know where the finish line is for the race. How does not knowing where the finish line is, how does that affect us psychologically, Doc?
Well, you get a few things. That emotional exhaustion, just that, like, I have nothing left to give. I think we all have either been there or we know somebody who's been there. And then we just become numb. It's like this depersonalization. Like, we have no feelings. We're just going through those motions. And then we also look at, like, our impact. And if we feel like we're not making a difference anymore, that drains us as well. So all those things together, it's just exhausting. And it's like if you had a full cup and you just keep pouring a little bit out, at some point the cup's going to be empty. And
Hmm.
that's what happens when we get to Sunday and we haven't had that reset and now we have to do it all over again. There's like nothing else to draw from.
Yep. So, one of the things, and I don't know, maybe you've struggled with this, maybe you could share with us just a little bit, is, we tend to get the wrong diagnosis. And
Mhm.
what I mean is, we think we get into this rut, we get into this thing, we can't get to the end of it, we can't get finished. And the very first thing that we think is that we need to be more organized, or we need to have better time management, or we just need to work a little bit harder over the weekend. And if I do those things, then I'm going to finally get caught up. What do you think about that?
And that's really tough because what happens is it's almost like we keep moving the finish line,
Hmm.
right? So with every one of those statements, what we thought, okay, if I just cross it here, but then, everybody with the ribbon suddenly moves it 100 yards ahead of us. And then we have to keep running
That's
and
right.
keep running and keep running. And it takes the energy right out of us.
Yep.
And it's again, it's falling into that, like, we're never done.
Hmm.
Everything just keeps going.
Yep. So I made another PowerPoint right here. Just want to show this just for a minute to kind of illustrate what we're talking about. Is over here on the left side, that's what we try to do as teachers. All these
Mhm.
gears are moving, everything's going. But what we fail to understand is that over here on the right side is there's a system, and it is designed so that the work will never end. I don't know a single teacher that has ever been done with all their work. I don't know of a single teacher that's ever caught up. And it's a system that has absolutely no limits. How does working in a system that has no limits affect us as human beings? Not just as teachers, but as human beings.
Right. So that chronic stress leads us to that nervous system dysregulation. So when we look at nervous system dysregulation, it's just everything like you just had right there.
Hmm.
It brings everything in. It's that low grade fight or flight kind of irritability, tension,
Yep.
reactivity. It
Yep.
can also be that functional freeze, that numbness, that kind of shutdown, like, and
Hmm.
then just going through the motions.
Yes.
So it's a combination of all of that. And your nervous system never gets that break. It's kind of like a motor constantly running at 6,000 RPMs. And
Hmm.
you get to that point where you just say, I'm emotionally drained, I'm emotionally exhausted, but I can't turn my brain off.
That's right. I mean, a vehicle. I was a mechanic for many years. A vehicle
Right.
will run for quite a while at
Hmm.
6,000 RPMs, but eventually the viscosity of the oil breaks down and the engine breaks. And that's what's happening to a lot of teachers. Again, I get to talk to a lot of teachers, and it's the same story over and over and over. Just last night, I was eating some supper with some friends, and the people that was eating with, the ladies, she just happens to be a teacher, but she teaches in the online environment, and the absolute same thing is
Mm.
happening there. The expectations are unrealistic, the demands cannot be met. She has to work until 12 and 1 o'clock in the middle of the night in order
Hmm.
to keep up with the pace of the work and the expectations that's been placed on her. So, for instance was that, grades were due for the end of the 9 weeks at 12 o'clock on a certain day, but they had to be put in the grade book and completely finished by 1 o'clock the next day. And so here she is having to stay up all night waiting for these grades to come in just so that she can keep up with the work that she has to complete.
Hmm.
It's the cycle that never ends, and we're caught in this loop. So just want to take just a few minutes, and I see there's a lot of people out there. They're already tuning in. And I appreciate that. But whenever you do jump in, go ahead and first of all say hello. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're watching from. Go ahead and tell us what your grade level is, what your content is, and most of all, what is your state? Because or country, because we have a lot of people that come in here. We have folks from Australia, we have folks from New Zealand, we have folks even from China. They've never been in our live, but they come into the chat all the time from China. We have folks from Texas, Wisconsin, Connecticut, a lot of people from California, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all over the United States. So jump in here, jump in the chat, tell us where you're at. And we are talking about, and I'm going to slip over to it right quick just so where you're at. And just so everybody knows, I think everybody knows Dr. Pender. She hasn't been with us for a couple weeks, but she's back. She's been
Yay.
back and forth and doing this other stuff. And what we're talking about here is why is it? Why do teachers never feel done? And why is it that teachers can't leave work at work? What's going on
Mm.
with us and what's happening? And so we're catching up with that and working on that issue right there. So, Doc, what have you been up to lately while we wait for everybody to jump in here?
Oh my. Getting ready for spring break. Talk about moving the finish line, right? So it's, and then trying to figure out what I'm going to do during spring break. And I think that's something we should caution ourselves as well, because whenever we feel like we have any time off, I don't know about you guys, but my life is like a Tetris game. Like I
Yep.
want to like, or Block Blast. All the kids tell me it's called Block Blast now, but like fit every single minute and hour into something. So it's kind of interesting that we're talking about this today, because I'm going to have to personally keep reminding myself that my spring break, like I can plan things, but it's enough if I just take some time just for me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is it okay to just not plan anything and to just kind of hang out? And I mean, for me, I'm going to hang out. I'm going to work around the house. I always power wash my driveway. Got to power wash the porches. I got to work in my garage. I'm going to not do a single thing education related. I'm not even going to think about a single thing education related. In fact, the entire education system could collapse while I was on spring break, and it won't make any difference to me. I don't even care. So, is it okay to just not plan anything?
It is, but for some of us that are planners on just the, that's just who we are, it's kind of hard. But I think if we just have a general idea of what we want, I think the biggest thing is giving ourselves permission to relax, and however that might look. For some people, that might be kayaking, where I would be exhausted if I did that. But I think it's just important that we recognize that we have permission to do whatever it is that we want in order to recharge, to get ready for that final stretch when we get back.
So I think that's the important thing right there is to do things while we're on spring break that are going to enable us to recharge and not further drain us down the tubes. And that's why I say, do we really have to go anywhere? I know it's nice to go places, but I don't know about you, but I've gone on what is vacation and came back off of vacation. I was more tired when I came back off vacation than I was
Absolutely.
whenever I before I went on vacation. So I'm not so
Yep.
sure that I need to go anywhere for spring break, but I got 2 weeks to figure that out. Once again, as you jump into the chat, go ahead and drop your name down there and let us know where you're from, what your content area is, what your grade level is. The state is the most important because we absolutely love to know who we are reaching. And if you're a first time watcher, drop it in the chat. We're trying to figure out why in the world teachers can't leave work at work. So, Doc, one of the things that I've noticed is that whenever I have a day, and I had a day, I mean, I had a day the other day, right? I wish I could talk about it, but I can't. But whenever I have a day and many days in a row, I like freeze up mentally.
Mhm.
It's like the cognitive load
Mhm.
becomes so heavy that I'm almost power paralyzed.
Right.
So I know that like clinical psychologists and whatnot, they refer to that as decision fatigue. Can you
Yes.
tell us about that?
So when you look at decision fatigue, a lot of the times what happens is people think it's because you're lazy and this and that. It's not. It's you are depleted. And what happens, especially in teaching, is our decision fatigue is like on steroids. Because on one hand, you're making a million different decisions, right? So we're talking about not only what's happening as far as your curriculum and what you're doing with your students in order to keep them engaged, but we have behavior management, which
Yep.
that's such a fun topic. But then there's also all the other adjustments, and especially coming up on testing season, we know how great that is.
Yep.
And then it's those fabulous little drop-ins, or it might be another admin email that you need to
Yep.
address. So all those little teeny tiny things pile up in
Hmm.
order to contribute to this thing called this decision fatigue. So it reduces our executive functioning
Hmm.
and makes it to where anxiety just goes off the charts. And then what happens is we tend to avoid things because
Yes.
it's like this shutdown. So by the end of the day, we're just completely depleted. The brain
Yes.
is done.
Yes. So I put in our PowerPoint tonight, I put
Yeah,
this up.
I love
The
that.
micro decisions. Now,
Mhm.
decision fatigue then is not a result of necessarily having to sit down and make big decisions in your life.
Mm-mm.
It's micro decisions. And as teachers, we do not have a defined stopping point. Now, we can talk about our contract hours, we can talk about when the last bell rings, but the fact of the matter is that the teachers in America are working, I don't know how many hours overtime.
Right.
The statistics say it's 15 hours on average, but if 15 hours is the average that teachers are working overtime, that means some teachers are working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks just to keep up, and the brain's background apps never close. And I get this
Yes.
idea that what that describes is kind of like being on your phone, and your
Mhm.
phone has, let's say, 10% battery, but you got 40 apps open. If you were to close those apps, you could conserve the energy of your phone. But if you
Right.
leave those apps up and running, it'll completely deplete your phone in
Right.
just a little bit of time. And I
Right.
feel like that's exactly what's happening right there. And I just want to put that back. I just want to put that back up just for a second, just for everybody to see, because I want them to see the right hand side right there, Doc. And this is what we deal with a lot of times. So we have all this stuff coming in, and then we have these nagging questions. Did I do it right? Am I doing things right for my students? Did I please the boss? Is this enough? Should I grade another paper? Should I take the emails at home? And those over time really break the teacher down, don't they?
Absolutely. And then you're stuck in this constant loop of demands. So a lot of demands for our time, but then that's the decisions as well. So, should I grade that paper? Do I need to read my email? It drives me crazy and I bother everybody who has their email on their phone. Get it off. It shouldn't be on your phone. If it's not between the hours of, let's say, 8 to 3:30,
Hmm.
and I'm on my computer, I don't need it any other time.
Yeah.
It's not like we're working for NASA and we have the Artemis taking off and I need somebody to get in touch with me 24/7,
Right.
and it can wait. But
It's just
and our
school, isn't it?
it's well, it's school, and I mean, if we look at any other profession, who else is on call like that and not getting paid for it? That's the key.
That's
It's
right.
one thing to have me at your beck and call and we're being compensated for it. It's another thing when you just expect me to answer. Now, there's times when it's different, and I've had relationships with admin and district and whatnot where if they
Hmm.
needed to call me, that's fine. But again, there's a break there because there are boundaries that have been set, and that's a very
Hmm.
every now and then kind of thing. But that loop where there's no break in that loop, that's what's really hurting us. And soon that cup that you showed will be completely empty.
So, I think that occurs because as teachers, we're pretty conscientious. Most of us are driven individuals. We're task oriented, and It's just a lack of boundaries in our, or
There
at
you
least
go.
defined boundaries. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of teachers are afraid to set boundaries because number one, you get viewed as not being a team player, or you get viewed as being lazy, and all those other things. And I want you to know out there that that is that if you've set boundaries and you've heard those things and your boundaries have been challenged, I want you to know that that's not true. Setting boundaries is what ensures sustainability in the teaching career. And if you
Mhm.
struggle with boundaries like I do, and probably the way that Doc does, created a resource for you. You can get it down in the description box tonight, or actually, you can get it right there on the QR code. You can just scan it and you can download it. It's free, it's 100% free, and it's always free. And we made it just for you and just for teachers. So we want you to go get it and grab that. So if you're just now jumping in, and we appreciate you jumping in, go ahead and let us know where it is that you're watching from. Tell us what your grade level is, your content area, and what's been going. Hey, Scorpio, how are you? Scorpio, right here, struggling with decision fatigue, struggling with decision fatigue. That's what we're going to talk about, well, in part, and how
Mhm.
we can overcome it. If you're just now tuning in, we're talking about, I will tell you, what we're really going to talk about is the power of enough. The power of enough. And what being able to say, when you can say, I've done enough, and walk away from it in deed and in thought, the freeing and liberating power that that will give to you. Now, everybody's been here, everybody knows us, and you know that 4 years ago my face went completely paralyzed. Doc was there. I mean, I was completely sideways. I couldn't blink my eyes. I had to tape my eyes shut. I literally walked around with pieces of tape on my eyes at school to keep my eyes shut. And I never took a single day off. And I don't say that. I said that at the time. I said that as a badge of honor, but it is not a badge of honor. It's
Yeah.
complete and total lunacy, is what it was. All right. And all of that was a result of chronic stress in my life and not taking care of myself. If I had known then what I know now, I would have
Mhm.
never have gotten into that shape. And that's why we exist here at Teacher Talk. And so we're talking about the power of enough and decision fatigue. It's a killer, Doc.
Mhm.
Don't you
Yeah.
think? I mean, maybe I don't want to over exaggerate. Maybe it's not a killer, but it's definitely a paralyzer. It'll paralyze you.
Absolutely. Well,
Yes.
because it's just these constant demands, and the brain doesn't have any recovery time. So when you look at this, your prefrontal cortex is just it just loses efficiency.
Yep.
So we're so used to trying to multitask all the time, but the more recent studies are showing that multitasking is for like 2% of the entire population. It's not saying that it doesn't exist,
Yep.
but it really doesn't exist for everybody.
That's
And
right.
just looking, so if we know that this has an impact on our nervous system, if we
Mm-hmm.
know that the brain will at some point start to conserve energy
Mm-hmm.
because it's running so high for so long,
Mm-hmm.
if we know all of that, then we also can work on ways to fix that. And that's
Yep.
part of knowing when enough is enough.
Yep. That's right. So here's a again, I want to share our screen here and bring our PowerPoint up. Um, this is the way it works over here on the left side. This is usually what teachers are trying to accomplish. Finish everything that's on the list,
Mhm.
get to a zero inbox, and it winds up that they have a depleted heart, and it leads to resentment. It leads
Mhm.
to a lack of patience.
Yep.
It leads to problems at home, and it leads to that glitchy return to the classroom, because what we've talked about is that when we don't know that where the finish line is, all we ever do is pause, and we're like a video that gets paused overnight on your computer. When you come back to it, it just won't restart. And that's exactly what is happening to teachers. But what we want to accomplish is we want to define doing things that are necessary, meaningful, and sustainable only. Those are the things to do. We're going to predefine what is enough, how much is enough, and we're going to work to guard our heart, because everything we do flows from it. And here's the thing, if you have an angry heart, guess what? You're angry.
Mhm.
If your heart is bitter, you're bitter. If your heart is exhausted, you're exhausted,
Mhm.
right? and you can't live that way. So, oh, hey, check it out, Doc. Lauren over here is from Eastern Tennessee. All right. Now, I'm not from Eastern Tennessee. My wife and I are actually from the furthest northwest corner that you can go and not be in Tennessee or Virginia, which means we lived right next to Eastern Tennessee. So I would be interested, Lori, what part of Eastern Tennessee do you live in? And we're working along. And anytime you have a question here, and I haven't been very diligent because sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself. We want to make sure that you're able to jump in and ask questions or start conversation, even if it's off topic. It doesn't make any difference. We're just in here talking to each other and talking to you, so we want to hear from you. So, Doc, how do we start to make this move right here? Um, and the important thing that I said is right here. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Just want to bring this up. Check this out. The paradigm
Yes.
of enough. Enough does not mean that you have to lower your standard. Rather, it's setting the standard so that there's actually an end time for it. And you notice what I said a minute ago. We're doing the things that are necessary,
Hmm.
meaningful, and sustainable. If you do those three things, you have done enough for the day. Doc, what power does that have in the human psyche if we can work under those conditions?
Well, it's closing that loop, and it's allowing the brain and the whole nervous system to come
Yep.
down because it's
Yes.
running too high, which is taking up just it's depleting everything.
Hmm.
And when we start to look, I mean, I know every school I've been at, every single woman, it seems like female teacher has a thyroid issue.
Yeah.
That chronic stress is what depletes and raises, our cortisol and depletes
Hmm.
us. And so it's just this never ending loop. And we really have to learn where we can have that reset and where we can have that pause. And it's also focusing and giving yourself permission. And this is big with teachers. It's giving yourself permission that that's enough. It's one thing to say, "Okay, I'm done with that." But then if you keep thinking about it, well, you really aren't done with it. So, we need to make sure that we can contribute to our health by making sure we understand what's enough.
So I think that that's exactly where most teachers are, is that they don't have a defined standard. And so
Right.
what happens is, in my opinion, is when you don't have a defined standard, a personal standard, then the system gets to set the standard. So, what are the dangers of allowing the system to set the standard of how much is enough?
Well, the system's never going to stop asking.
That's right.
I mean, that's education.
That's right.
Every system, this is year 28 or going
Yes.
on 28, I don't even know.
Yes.
But every system I've ever seen, it's just more and more and more. I even asked one of my principals one time, I said, "Well, if you don't do that," because the district had asked for something else that needed to be done.
Right.
I said, "What happens if you don't do it?" She's like, "Well, that's not an option." And I said, "Well, if you don't have the manpower, they have to provide it. So, but if you keep doing it, they're going to keep asking for more."
Yep.
No different with teachers. If we keep doing and doing and doing, they'll keep piling and piling and piling. And this isn't making districts and admins the enemy.
That's right.
It's the nature of the education system right now. Again, we've talked a lot about. I would love to know how to fix it. And if anybody has some great
I
ideas,
would
that would
too.
be awesome. But
Yep.
I mean, that's what happens. And
Yes.
especially the teachers, because heaven knows we're not in this for the money, but that really want to impact their kiddos, so they keep going above and beyond, above and beyond, above and beyond.
Right.
There comes a point in time where we have to understand that that can actually hurt us more than help anyone in the long run.
Well, I think it does because you said something very interesting. A couple of things. Number one, the system will never stop giving more,
Nope.
and it will take more from you
Hmm.
really than you're willing to pay.
Mhm.
right? It will. It'll take everything away from you. The second thing is that you said that it creates an open loop,
Mhm.
right? And for those of you that don't know, the idea of an open loop, and you know this, it's a literary device that's used in books, it's used in movies. It opens up a loop and it creates a question in your mind. And physiologically, when that happens, you we can't really turn away until that loop is closed.
Mhm.
Once that loop is closed, then we're satisfied.
Mhm.
And the problem with education is that it creates an open loop because you don't know when you've done enough. You don't know when you're finished. And that's why we created here at Teacher Talk, we created the power of enough, the power of enough, because it will help you close that loop so that you can reduce the cognitive load in your brain. All right, I'm going to put it right down here in the chat. You can get it there, or you can get it at you can actually get it right here at the QR code. You can scan there and you can find it on the website, or you can get it down in the description box, or you can get it over there in the chat. Either way, want to encourage you to go get it. It comes fully with its own workbook, and there's I think 7 videos are linked to it
Mhm.
as well. Also, the slide deck that we're using tonight will be a part of that, and also I made this little infographic so that we can kind of understand what in the world's going on and how that system works. So the power of enough, the 5 rules, and we're about to get to these 5 rules right here. These 5 rules are maybe the greatest rules that you can implement into your life. Okay, and it's there for you. So go grab it and get on close the loop so that you can get the load off of your back. Okay, yeah, here we are. So, yeah. All right. Lori says for year 29 for me. Yes, they tend to pile more and more on teachers. I do what I can and what is essential. And I'm learning to do what time allows, I think what you're saying. So that's a great step right there, Doc, don't you think?
Exactly. And what I really like about that is understanding that everything can't get done. So I'm going to do what I can do and I'm going to be okay with that. So that's the other thing is learning that either way like I'm okay because a lot of the times that teacher guilt kicks in and then that's where we start all over again. And then that's where what happens is your brain actually adapts to your I don't like the word normal because it's only a setting on the dryer, but your
Right.
normal then is up here. So your brain adapts to, okay, we're going to keep running this high. All right, so we're never going to come down. But then that leads to more problems. So it's understanding that we need to keep things in perspective,
Mm-hmm.
understand what we can do, what we can control, and then being able to release all the things that we can't. Because I think there's a an element of control that we need to really make sure we're looking at as well. And not just in our teaching lives, but in our personal
Right.
lives, because
100%.
sometimes we're getting involved in things that really aren't pertaining to us.
Right.
But we're fixers a lot of the times and
We
we're
are.
helpers and we
We
want to
are.
really make everything okay for everybody.
We
But
are. It
then that
100%.
takes away from ourselves.
It absolutely bothers. Hey, just want to give a couple shout outs right here. Todd jumped in right here. Look what he says. I support our public school teachers. Man, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that because I don't know where you guys live, but I can tell you in Florida that public education is under an attack like you would
Oh,
not believe. I mean, we live in a state where our governor wants to take the empty rooms in our school and lease them out to charter schools and essentially create 2 separate schools inside of a single school. That's what we're up against down here in Florida. It's not going to be long before public education in Florida is probably non-existent, and will probably become an ESE center. Is probably what we're going to become because those charter schools they won't keep the ESE kids, or at least the ESE kids that won't behave. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Doc's with us here, and I forgot her last time. If you're interested in old Doc Pender, that's all about solutions over there. You can check out her YouTube, and I think that goes to her Task Tamer right there. So you can download that at the QR code, and it'll be in the description box here after a while. So I'm going to leave that up for you for just a couple minutes. Also, you can get all the free resources of Teacher Talk. We have some paid resources down there as well. If you choose, you can book a discovery call with me, or you can book a discovery call with Doc. Doc, how do they book a call with you?
Right? Just follow that QR code and it's a 15-minute encouragement call and we can talk about anything and everything because in all honesty, coaching is not only what we're doing at work, but it's what we do at home
That's
because we
right.
want to make sure that we are generalizing and making sure that we are healthy in all
Right.
settings.
100%. And I tell you, if you're in education, it is very difficult to be healthy today. It is
Mm,
very difficult. All right, so I just want to just take this second because we have had a lot of people jump in right here in just the last couple minutes, and I want to just get everybody caught up. We're talking about the power of enough, and trying to answer the question why teachers never feel done, and the reason why is because they have an open loop in their brain. And the very best that we often get sometimes is we get to be able to put ourselves on pause because the education system does not have a defined end stop. It doesn't have a place where we can actually say in a day, okay, I'm finished. And the reason why is because the work never finishes. And is in fact, as we've talked about here, it just continues to pile up on top of us every day, every year. It's more and it's more. It's another mandate. It's another unpaid. It's another unpaid mandate. It's another step that has to be taken care of. It's something else that we have to document, and it creates a cognitive load that literally paralyzes us
mhm,
as teachers and as people. And so we want to be able to define what is enough. How do I know if I've done enough? And there are three requirements. Number one, have I done all the things that are necessary? Has my work been meaningful? Does it actually move the needle on learning? And is this what I'm doing sustainable? If we cannot meet that criteria, all right, then we are going to struggle. If something else is the criteria, we will struggle. But if you can meet that criteria, you have done enough. So, how do you get there? How do you get to that point to where you can say, I've done enough? And I'm going to share it with you. There's 5 steps right here. All right, right up on the screen. The 5 rules to reclaim your limits, to be able to say that you've done enough. Now, Doc, rule number 1 is you have to define what actually matters.
mhm.
Now, every teacher out here loves their vocabulary words and definitions. What is the power neurologically and psychologically when you define what actually matters?
Well, and that's giving the brain s- a very clear picture. Because what happens a lot of the time is everything is so vague, and then we're trying to hold everything all at once and do everything all at once. But what are those things? So, being specific and defining exactly what it is we want will actually lead us to that goal, and it's it makes it more attainable. If we don't specify what we want, we tend to just spin around in circles.
That's right.
That again goes back to that finish line. Well, if I just finish all my IEPs for this week, if I just make it to spring break, oh, June will be here soon and it'll be summer.
Mm-hmm.
We always want to look for those big resets, but we need those smaller ones. And it starts with actually defining exactly what it is that we want or need.
So I think that most of us, like what we see right here on the screen, is
Mhm.
that most of us live in this land over here that's all
Yes.
messy, got all kinds of stuff going all over the place, because that is exactly what the education system like. It is 100% chaos all the time. And we want to move from that to here.
Mhm.
Move from reacting to whatever demands your attention and decide ahead of time what is going to get your attention. And once
Mhm.
these things are done, you have officially reached a place of having done enough. And anything that you can do beyond these things, that's like bonus. Those are like bonus points. But we should not feel guilty in thinking that we have to do more. And I think that is the very first thing that happens is that when a teacher sets a boundary, I say, these are the things that matters. As soon as you set a boundary, you will be challenged in your
Oh yeah.
boundary
Oh yeah.
100%. And we
Hmm.
cave. What can we do, Doc, to keep from caving on our boundary?
Well, a lot of the times you have to define what your off switch actually is. Some teachers I know define it as I work from 8 to 3:30, and at 3:30 I make sure my email's turned off and I'm done. You have to understand that you have to define that off switch. It's not going to be defined for you. And sometimes that means having an accountability partner, a
Yes.
coach, a friend, a fellow
Yes.
teacher, whatever it might be. So, because what happens is our bodies and minds get in that loop, right? And
Yep.
we just never feel complete.
Yep.
And that incomplete, even like a grade, but that incomplete is this black cloud over us.
That's right.
And the nervous system never is allowed to power down.
Yep. That's exactly what causes the Sunday scaries because we get to the end of Friday, we walk out the door on Friday, and we haven't actually set a standard for why we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Why can I say that I'm done? And so
Mm-hmm.
Sunday rolls around. The next thing we know, we're thinking about all the things that we think aren't done.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it is the feeling of I didn't do enough. It's interesting that you mentioned defining a stop time because that is actually step number 2 there, Doc. The hard stop.
Yes.
You have to have a hard and fixed time when everything stops. Okay, I just put 4:30 down here just as a time
Mm-hmm.
for just for the slide, but all this stuff over here has to have a barrier. And I like what the writer of the proverb says. The writer of the proverb says that the one that lacks self-control is like a city without walls. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
have this walls, all this stuff over here will come into your rest zone. And guess what you're not doing?
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing. Doc, what can we do to set up, do you think, a hard stop? Does it need to be a certain time? Does it need to be, whenever you're in a certain place, you're not going to do certain things? Or what does it need to be? What would be the best thing to help teachers today?
Well, so the first part is to look at yourself and look at what is taking your time or what is trying to erode that boundary that you've probably set a number of times. So one teacher I worked with, it was a time, okay? 3:30, I'm done, emails are done, things go
Hmm.
away, that's that. Another teacher that I worked with, hers was more along the lines of not just time, but emotions. She knew when her emotions were to a certain point, and that was her off. So she actually, interestingly enough, came up with a physical barrier or reminder that she was done with work and transitioning into like mommy mode, so to speak. She
Right.
had a hook outside her front door, and
Hmm.
she would imagine that she's hooking everything that she'll
Yep.
need for Monday on that hook, and when she went in her house, that she was now mom.
That's right. So she had actually a visual that she would just deal with. And
Right,
I think that a lot of people would look at it and think, well, that's silly. When you're home, but your brain doesn't.
right.
You might know that physically and you might understand that, but your brain is letting all that work stuff come over here and you got to put a stop to it.
Mhm.
So let's see. Lori's jumping in here. Let's see what she got to say. It says Sunday scares. I used to get those, not so much anymore. Now I try to get my lesson planning and grading done at school. Some
Yes.
weeks that's much harder than others. And that is absolutely true. Some weeks
Yes.
are going to be harder than others, but setting the hard stop, knowing that I've done what's meaningful, I've done what's necessary, and what I'm doing is sustainable, right? If you've done that, if you've met that criteria, you have done enough regardless of how many papers are on your desk, regardless of how many grades still need to be put in. And I'll tell you why, because, the person who is working, who is fresh, can do more than the person that is exhausted. So if you try to work through exhaustion, you're not going to get as much done as you can if you're healthy. So, golly, we got a lot of people in here, but we don't have a lot of chat tonight. Maybe we're boring, Doc. Do you think we're boring tonight? You know what I
I
was
don't know.
actually, you know what
But
I was actually thinking?
go
I
ahead.
was actually thinking that this time change might mean that we got to move this thing back an hour to
Yeah.
like 8 o'clock, but that's getting
But
up
a
close.
lot of people are on spring break too.
You
So
know what? You're right. I didn't even think about it. Is anybody
yeah.
in here on spring break? Anybody that's watching, if you're on spring break, drop a one just down the chat because I'm starting to think that we're boring.
Well, let me just okay, not to be boringer, but let me just back up for 1 second.
Okay.
So one of the things that you were saying, and that's I just really think that people need to look at what it is that's stealing their time first, like trying
Yep.
to kind of figure out what is impacting them.
Yep.
Because I think another thing is just awareness because what happens is when we do and do and do and do and do and do and do, our
Yes.
nervous system understands that as
Yes.
our functioning point.
You're
So,
you're like
yeah.
stealing all my stuff here. What?
I know.
You're like
Sorry.
stealing all my stuff. Lori says, let's see here. What do we got?
Um,
All right, Crystal Moore. No, this is good. Taking it all in. Spring break for me is next week. Well, bless your heart. Hey, Crystal Moore, where are you located at? Where are you located? Miss, now we got it. No spring break for Lori. We just like to know your state and content area because I absolutely love to know where we're reaching people. No spring break for Lori. No spring break for Miss. I can't see it, Doc. Can you see it?
Salinas.
I
No.
can't see it.
Yes.
I got these brand new
Salinas, I
glasses
got
and
that
they're,
part.
and they're no good. No spring break was last week. I appreciate that. I'm glad you went. So we are still 2 weeks, count them 2 weeks away from spring break. Crystal's from Georgia. Well, we're Florida people. Um, can't say that I find myself pulling for Georgia football anytime recently. Todd's in Alabama. That's what I'm talking about. I have not pulled. I am not a roll tide kind of guy either. Bless your all's hearts up there. And poor old Nick Saban, I'm
Oh,
glad to see everybody. It is so good. Hey, Sarah Ann, so good to see you. I'm gonna pop you up
and
there on the
also
screen. So good to see you, Sarah Ann. I appreciate you dropping in. She's a regular. Also, just wanted to point out a couple things. We got all kinds of free resources down in the description or right here at the QR code. That's where All About Solutions with Doc is. If you like to have a 15-minute conversation with her, you can do that right there at the QR code. All my free resources are right there. You can also get a discovery call with me right there at that QR code. Also, the Power of Enough is located in that chat as well. You can get it there, or I'm going to put it right here in the chat again. If you like what we're talking about, let me tell you what it comes with. It comes with I don't know, Doc. You went through it. Tell us what it's about. Doc
well,
Doc
again,
is like my test. I don't want to say test dummy. I don't want to say
I'm the
that.
test
That doesn't
dummy.
sound right.
I'm the one that gets to go through it first.
She
So
tests all my stuff.
so I think again it's exactly what we're talking about. It just gives you some visuals and it gives you more of a format to really slow down
Yep.
and write it down. And we're going to talk about how important that is. I'm not going to try to jump the gun on that one, but it's so important for you to slow down enough to define what it is. And
Yes.
then that's going to lead you to reestablishing those
Yes.
boundaries and putting strategies in place.
Yes.
Like if we want to set the goal line for summer, fine. And then we can
Yes.
do some things over summer. But if you're not, if you're kind of trying just to run through, think of it this way. If you went to the mall and you got to grab something to eat, like you're not going to run through the food court and just grab stuff and like eat on your way to your next store. You need to sit down for a minute and relax. And I just think some of us, especially in education, we're just wired to run constantly.
Yep.
And it's time to start walking. And this program helps you walk.
Yeah. So the power of enough, it's a coaching product that I created. And again, you can get it right there at that. You can get it down in the description box. You can use the link that's in the chat. And I don't know, it's about 10 pages long, and it walks you through these 5 rules. And, there's kind of a setup for it. I think, I put 7 videos in there, 7 coaching videos. I think they're about 5 minutes long.
Hmm.
It also comes with the slide deck that we're using tonight for you to have. And it also comes with this little infographic that I created for the project right here. Not that it's all that important, but it's kind of a visual for you to look at. Um, just so that you understand, okay, what is supposed to happen. And I just want to say that the power of enough, it's not a one-time use. It's a use over and over and over. It's something that you can return to regain your bearings, and to because life changes, your
Hmm.
situation's going to change, and when that happens, then you have to be able to adapt to that. And for if you're anything like me, that's not easy for me to do, because I am headstrong, I'm headlong, and I'm full on. And if I don't stop and slow down, before long I'll wake up like I did 4 years ago. My entire face is paralyzed. Laura says roll tide, and I say, "Oh, Gators, Gators, get up and go, Gators. They're terrible." We got put out of the March Madness as well. Hey, look right here. I can't see it, Doc. Can you see it? HR something or another, man. Appreciate you being in
Papa.
here. Spring break's over. Located in Central Florida, not bored at all. We are almost in Central Florida. We're in the Gainesville area, I will say.
Mhm.
So maybe you're in Ocala or Marion County or somewhere along those lines. I appreciate you jumping in here. Thank you so much for jumping in. I wish I could go hug a public school teacher, because teachers need it. Man, that is 100% right, Todd. And I think you can. You could probably go to your local school and you could probably hug one there. If you're in Florida, you can come to my school and give us a hug, because after last week, we need it. I can tell you that. So just to recap, right quick. All right, the five rules to reclaim your limits. If you want better health and have a better career and not be broken down as education can do. Number one, you have to define what actually matters. You
Mhm.
have to know what things are important to you. Okay. And here's the deal: is it meaningful? Right? Is it sustainable? And is it necessary? When you answer those 3 questions, and those are the things that you do every single day, right? You've done enough. You have done enough. All right. To get to that, you have to define what actually matters. You have to have a hard stop time, which means you have to sit down and you got to do some tough work. You got to think some things through. But here's the third thing that you have to do, and this is difficult. You have to eliminate invisible work. Not everything that can be done should be done. Look at the graphic on the right side. All this invisible work. And as teachers, we are really good at making up invisible work.
Mhm.
So, Doc, how can we conduct a reduction audit in our life? What could we do?
So the first thing, and you hear me preach it constantly, is awareness. Start being more aware of where you're spending your time. If it took you an hour and a half to work on that bulletin board, is that really a good use of your time? And I'm sure it's a fabulous bulletin board, and I'm sure it's spectacular, and everybody might comment on it. But is it worth your time? So it's and maybe instead of doing it an hour and a half, you could have done it in 45 minutes. It's just being aware of, first off, where you're spending your time. And then it's also being aware of where your emotions are going. Because sometimes what happens is that underneath work is really a lot of self-talk or stress that is has come from some other situation. I preach it constantly about control because I'm a reformed control freak and I still have my moments where I dig my claws in, but I'm really working on it. And it's tough because it's a balance. I loved how Lori mentioned about balance in your life. That's exactly what this is. So we offer these different resources to you guys, not because it's a one-stop shop, but just like Miller said earlier, this
Right.
is a fluid process. This is
Yes.
this is constant kind of revision, looking at what's going on, because what happens over time is we tend to lose ourselves, whether it's in a process, whether it's in a job, a relationship, whatever. So we just have to make sure we're balancing
That's
and
right.
we're just aware of what's going on.
So your goal or our goal, Doc, is to deliberately reduce invisible work by 25%.
Mhm.
And that takes a personal audit, doesn't it?
Mhm.
It takes
Absolutely.
being honest with ourselves. I feel like that we live in a culture, and I think I'm right about American cultures, is it's just a hustle culture.
Mhm.
And we oftentimes feel like our value is
Yes.
related to what we can produce, how much we can do. And if every teacher in America was on here right now, I would want to say this. I want you to know that that is an outright lie.
Mhm.
Nobody's value can be summed up in what they produce at all. And I feel like as teachers that we need to deliberately let go of that and understand that we can set limits, meaningful, necessary, sustainable. And that third one is really important, sustainable. Is this something that I can do long term? If it's
Mhm.
not, we got to cut it out. We got to let it go.
Mhm.
How would we make that? What would be our gauge there, Doc?
Well, I think it's not only because sometimes we can say that we want to become more aware of something and we'll pay attention to our actions and our emotions and all those different things. But I also think it takes sometimes an outside person. One of my most amazing mentors in the history of mankind, her name is
Mhm.
Ivy Roush, and she looks just like Edna Mode from The Incredibles. And she was tiny and she was awesome, and I adored her. And here's a big reason why. I would do that. Oh yeah, I got it. I got it. Oh, I'm
Yes.
fixing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing that.
Yes.
And we shared an office actually, and there would be times where all of a sudden from behind her desk I'd hear, "Lisa, have you had your blood levels checked lately?" Because I was suffering from
Hmm.
stuff with my thyroid. And when she would
100%.
say that, that was a direct, "Whoa, I'm in hyper mode." I was in a
Yes.
heightened state, and but all she had to do was say that and then it made me come back down. But it took an outside person. I
Yes.
mean, that one day in my office, I
Yes.
was 100 miles an hour. I was
Hmm.
being pulled from every direction.
Hmm.
I felt beaten emotionally,
Yep.
and I completely screwed up with a kid, and
Yep.
thankfully you were there to help, but you
Yep.
also called me out like, "Hey kid,
Yep.
this isn't the right path."
That's right. That that's 100% right, and that happens to every last one of us. All right, just
Mhm.
a couple things from the chat. Look right here. Lori Grissom. Yes, I need to learn to slow down and not go at it full force. I need balance
Yes.
in my life.
Yep.
Absolutely. Also, want to thank Lori Grissom because she downloaded the Power of Enough. Appreciate that. If you have any problems with that, Lori, you can always go to our website and get on the contact me button there, and you can send me an email. It is a digital product, and sometimes they glitch. Anybody that has problems with them, again, I want to stress this. I can't say it enough. It is not a one-time fix everything. It is a strategy. It is a coaching strategy, right? And like all strategies, you kind of got to work at it. It doesn't take a lot of time to work at it, but it does require some decision making, and you're going to have to come back to it. All right, got some others jumping in here. Year 31 for me, and I'm still struggling
Oh,
with. I'm
God bless.
better. I got you. I don't know if we'll ever stop struggling. What is that? Melanie 1523. Appreciate you jumping in. Um, Golly, I almost pulled up my almost pulled up my own thing there. All right, so that's that. All right, once again, just want to let you know what's going on. There's Doc right there, all about solutions. If you want to sit down and chat with her, do you do that by video or do you do that by phone? How do you do that, Doc? I mean,
All the above,
all about so
whatever
whatever
works
they
best
want.
for people.
So if they want to talk to you on the phone, they can. If
Yep.
they want to video with you, they can. Is it
Yep.
is it pretty easy to get in contact with you,
Very
or do
easy.
they have to chase you down and send the FBI
Hopefully
looking
not.
for you or anything like that? No, you're good. You're good.
I'm
Okay. All
good.
right. And all of our free stuff and our products are there at that QR code or in the description box. You can book a discovery call with me. I'd appreciate it. I got to be honest with you. I've been able to sit with a lot of teachers, and they're 30-minute calls, and I probably get more encouragement from them than they do from me. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that, but I want you to know that it is encouraging to help teachers because this is a very, very difficult system.
Hmm.
It's a very difficult system, and it's not going to get any easier. So step 4. Now, this may come as a surprise. You would think, well, why in the world would you put that in there? Step 4 is replace guilt with truth.
Yes.
The guilt that you feel when you finally close your laptop, that is not wisdom. That is not truth speaking to you. It is a conditioned response, kind of like Pavlov's dog, from a system that treats exhaustion as if it's a virtue. And
Yes.
so you can see on the left side is we have this conditioned lie that a lot of teachers believe. I don't finish if I don't finish grading tonight, then I'm lazy. Or if I don't do this, I'm not going to be helping my students or my students going to suffer. And the truth of the matter is none of that's true.
Right.
Because on the other side, the truth is when you stop, you create a hard stop. You are choosing sustainability over burnout.
Hmm.
You're choosing to say, my students deserve better than an exhausted teacher standing up in front of the classroom. So, Doc, how can we get past false guilt? What can they do today? You don't have to get the product, but if you don't, and you say, well, I'm going to implement some of these things, and they start to feel guilty, what do they need to do to get away from the guilt?
So, one of the first things that I would recommend is to get away from the idea of finishing everything. Like, choose one thing. What's the one thing you're going to get done today?
There you go.
Another thing I would strongly recommend
Excellent.
is if you feel that you have a bunch of things and you're getting stressed and 3:30's it's 3:27, I really need to go, I have an appointment or whatever, you're fine or you're trying to stick to your 3:30, write it all down on a piece of paper and leave it on your desk.
That's right.
Because the power of being able to write it and get it out of your brain and onto a piece of paper
Yep.
creates closure,
Sure does.
creates, yes. So it creates that kind of done feeling, that enough. So you're able to put it down.
Hmm.
It reduces, but this is the big part. You have to be okay with it on that paper and walk away
Hmm.
because it'll be there tomorrow.
That's
We
right.
all know everything will be there tomorrow. So,
Hmm.
but understanding and defining that that's enough for today, it changes your whole loop. It gives you that break.
Yep.
And it helps with that decision fatigue, that
Yes.
those nighttime thoughts and all that kind of stuff and your rest.
Yes.
So again, get it on a piece of paper and know it'll be there for you tomorrow.
Yes. I am so committed to rule number 4 that when the end of the year gets here
Mhm.
and it's the last day of school for me, I will not even clean my desk. I'm that committed to it. I will walk away, and on day 1 of pre-planning, I will pick up right there. Now, I
I'm
know
not
that
gonna
sound
clean
I
my
know that
desk.
sounds ridiculous,
Right.
but I really am that committed. I'm committed to hard stops. I'm committed to doing things that are meaningful and necessary. Do I get pulled in 100 different directions and get off track? Absolutely. But I have to come back to it. But I'm committed to it.
Right.
All right. And part of the reason why, well, not part of the reason why, it's all the reason why, is because I'm committed to my own health. Because
Yep.
I nearly had a flipping stroke,
Right.
right? And I don't want to have a stroke. I'm committed to my health. So a couple things right here. Nancy, Year number 28 and struggling.
Mm,
Nancy, I'm at year almost 20, Doc's at 29, and we are struggling.
mm-hmm.
Yes, we are struggling. Now, here's the good news, Nancy. This is what I want you to hear. Number one, you don't have to struggle as much. We're always going to struggle, right? But more importantly, is that you don't have to struggle alone.
There you go.
That's what Teacher Talk, our products, our guides, our free stuff, our videos, that's what every bit of it is all about. You don't have to struggle alone. And so, some people are going to want to talk to Doc, and you can do that. I'm going to set you up with that in just a minute. And some people are going to want to meet with me, and that's fine. Year 29 here for Laura Grissom, still learning here, Nancy. Every time I learn a strategy, they change the standards. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? The good news is I don't think we have to change the standards here. I think we're going to have to react, or we're going to have to
Respond.
respond. I don't want to say
Yeah.
react. We're going to have to respond to things as they change, but I don't think we have to change our standard, right? We may have to make an adjustment. Oh, yes, I like that. Enough for today.
Mm-hmm.
Enough for today. That is, in a nutshell, the power of enough. I have done enough for today. Our friend Todd here, he's not a public school teacher, not a public school teacher, but I do think teachers need to take a 30-minute break every day. Boy, I would like to get that. I would like to get a 4-minute break. Speaking of which, most teachers cannot get a 30-minute break. Maybe sometimes we do, maybe sometimes we don't. But if you go right here, QR, or down in the description box, there's a free resource down there. It's free. It's 100% free. It's always free. It's a 5-minute reset. And I know that 5 minutes is not going to change the world, but 5 minutes will tell your brain that you're safe, and that'll make a difference. Doc, what's the science behind that?
So it's just, again, it comes back to that we have trained our nervous system to operate at a level that it's not supposed to be operating from for long periods of
Right.
time.
Right.
So that's what leads to that
100%.
exhaustion and all the other things that come with it. So you're
100%.
kind of reclaiming your, not kind of, you're reclaiming your peace by saying,
Yes.
I'm going to do something differently tomorrow. And whatever you do is up to you. And that's where these kind of phone calls come in, because it
Yes.
helps us kind of pinpoint what's going to work best.
Yes.
So, and it, if the first thing is creating a visible endpoint to your day,
Yes.
great. We can do that, whether it's a time, whether it's a symbol, whether there's
Yes.
like a visual, tangible thing. We can do all of those.
Absolutely. 100%. All right. A few more right here. Lee's at 9311, Southern California, second grade. I hope that the weather is great out there. We are finally out of the cold, cold days. We did cool off here the last couple
Oh
days, like the
goodness.
68, uh, after it's been 90 all these days. But glad to have you. Appreciate you jumping in. Got another one right here. All of your advice seems to be based on very solid principles of healthy mind and therapy. We need to slow down, and the students need us to slow down too. Good point right there, HR. I cannot see it. I got these glasses and I cannot see it. The students need us to slow down, because the greatest gift that you can give to your students is not a better lesson plan. It's not an updated grade book, although that's important. Don't misunderstand. The very best thing you can give to your teachers or your students is the most healthiest version of yourself possible.
Amen.
When you
Yes.
present that person every day, you are
Yes.
doing right by your students. Hey, just wanted to say, I appreciate that. All of our advice seems to be based on very solid principles of healthy minds and therapy, and it absolutely is. And I want to share this, and everybody here knows this. If you haven't caught it by now, you will now. But we're a faith forward organization. It's not because we want to be. It's not because we want to be offensive. It's just because that's who we are, and plus that's what we think is the most solid foundation for us to have conversations about. And so our core here, our core strategy comes from Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 23, that says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for from it flows the issues of life." And whenever I say your heart, I mean the inner core of who you are. And if you've ever been, and we all have, you know what it's like to be dysregulated on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And when you're dysregulated, you don't function very well, right? If you and it comes out in losing your patience at school, snapping off at a kid, firing off an email that you shouldn't have. It comes out at home with your spouse or with your kids. All of those problems on the inside, they leak out. They do
Mm-hmm.
not stay stuffed in. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I tell this story all the time. 4 years ago, I was in a horrible shape and I was the most toxic employee that you've ever seen in your entire life. I was the guy that nobody wants to have in their school. I was tore up, right? Because everything that was in here that I failed to deal with leaked out my mouth. All the things that you think in your brain that are supposed to stay there when you're in a meeting, no, 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 no. They were coming right out my mouth. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what was happening, right? So that's where we're at. All right, let's see here. At least 3:30 on spring break. Good for you. Good for you. Let's see right here. All right, year two elementary music teacher. Bless your heart. This term was really a struggle for me. Feel like I'm messing up every day and making
Mm-hmm.
and not making an impact on my students. Let me see what there, and they don't care. Okay, the last part actually
Mm-hmm.
might be true. They don't care, but that doesn't mean that you're not making an impact. Doc, take that one over right there.
So, okay. So that's where we need to like look at and shift possibly your focus. You're not messing up, you're showing up. We just
That's right.
need to, right? We just need to
Good.
define, right, yourself in this
Good.
process.
Good.
Because all too often we lose ourselves in the process. And
Good.
then we start comparing ourselves to other teachers, and
Yes.
comparison is the thief of joy. You know, I love
Yes.
that statement. But
Yes.
we can't be a part of that. So the first step, and maybe what you do, if you don't download anything, don't look at anything, maybe what you do right now is you grab a piece of paper
Yes.
and you put this is enough, and you decide one thing that you're going to do differently tomorrow.
One thing.
Maybe it's on your 30-minute break, which is really probably 25, 20 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But maybe it's 5 minutes of quiet. Don't check your emails. Don't go on your
Right.
phone. Don't scroll social media.
That's right.
Maybe it's putting on some calming music. Maybe it's
Excellent.
going for a walk. There's one of my schools has a track, and I am the lady who will go for walks in between meeting with kids because my body just needs that movement for a few
Yes.
minutes.
Yes.
So I, I would really, I know I know you're struggling, and we're totally here. This is why we're here.
Yes.
You're not messing up, you're showing up. Remember that.
That's right. Check this out right here. This is what makes Teacher Talk so special. Look right. All right. So, a message over to Puppy Lover. Hang in there. I hope that you're listening to this podcast carefully. It's exactly what you need to hear. 30-year teacher encouraging year two elementary music teacher. That's what I'm
Mhm.
talking about.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. So, Doc, we got to get, we got to replace guilt with truth, and we
Mhm.
got to get to step number five. And step
Okay.
number five is essentially, and I'm going to bring it up right here. We have to measure success differently because you can't win at a game that never ends. And so stop measuring success by reaching the bottom of the pile because over here on the left hand side, this list here never comes to an end. It never comes to an end. Never. But over here on the right hand side, we can have a better scorecard. Did I show up? Was I present? Was I regulated for my students today? Did I accomplish the top three things that mattered? And did I protect my energy for myself and my family? If you can get 2 out of 3, that's pretty good. Not, and I say that with all confidence because that is 66%. And if you are a baseball fan or a softball fan like I am, if you can hit 33%, if you can hit 1 out of 3, that's success. If you
Mhm.
get 2 out of 3, that's super successful. Doc, tell us about the power of having a proper measuring stick.
And that comes from defining what it is we're even measuring,
That's right.
right? If
You
we
got to
have
know.
these super general terms, but brings us down to, again, what's enough for today. I love looking at that infographic you had, those 2 out of 3 things.
Hmm.
Look at your day differently. There were plenty of times when I didn't show up in a great mood and I needed a reset.
Hmm.
So I had to, even sometimes we have to reset in the middle of the day because we catch what's going on.
Yeah.
But we also have to give ourselves permission to be human. You
Yes.
know, a lot of the times as teachers, we're called on to be counselors,
Yeah.
entertainers, uh, moms, dads. It's
Investigators,
yeah, exact
law enforcement.
investigators, law enforcement. Amen. We
I
can
gotta
just keep
quit.
going.
I gotta quit.
But
Holy
it's
cow.
true. We're asked to be all of these things, and it's really tough because the brain's trying to fill all the gaps. So we need to slow down and define what we want to be when we go in. And there was a time when I was at work, I used to be an autism coach, and
Yeah.
I got physically
Yeah.
beaten every day.
Yeah.
And that took a toll. So I had to define what success or what enough looked for my day, just so that I could get through the day.
Yeah.
So that's what I would encourage everybody. Like, what's enough for today? I love those things that you just showed. I love that checklist. I think that's a healthier checklist.
When you have an accurate understanding of what you can actually do and what
Mhm.
things are important versus what the system over here says that you need to
Mhm.
do or what the culture says that you need to do, you can walk away with a sense of satisfaction. And
Mhm.
that's really what teachers want. Because when we complete a task at school, that gives us an immediate shot of dopamine. But when all those tasks go undone, it
Mhm.
creates anxiety,
Mhm.
right? But what if those tasks aren't really important to begin with? That's the point. You're
Mhm.
changing your measuring stick. And when you change your measuring stick and you give a standard that you can actually meet, you can get the same shot of dopamine and walk away feeling good about yourself, feeling good about your job, and not worrying about all the anxiety and the things that come with it. And you can do that very easy. Did I show up?
Mhm.
Was I present? Was I regulated? Did I complete the things that are necessary? The top three things that mattered: necessary, sustainable, and meaningful.
Meaningful.
Did I do those things? And did
Mhm.
I protect my energy so that when I go home, I could be present with my family? That's a different gauge of success. When you have that, you can do away with the anxiety. So right here, right down here in the chat, I got one more thing we're going to go through, and then we're going to close it up for the night. Year 31 from California on spring break, have not mastered leaving work at work. Okay, I cannot say,
You're in the right place.
yeah,
We're
you
gonna
are.
drill it
I, I
into your
can't. I,
head.
I can't say that I've mastered it because there have been a time or two this year I have brought a little bit of work home. I was not doing well, but I had a strategy and a way to refocus.
Mhm.
Whereas before, I did not. And that's where the difference is. Because we're not going to be perfect at what we're doing. We're going to struggle. There's going to be days, there's going to be periods of time that are very difficult, long periods of time. But if we have a strategy so that we can refocus, or somebody to talk to, or somebody to listen to us, right, we can make it through that. And for clarity, I spent 3 years in a coaching relationship. Three, count them. 1, 2, 3, 3 years. Number one, the first year was once a week, and it's because I needed it. Beyond that, the next 2 years was once a month, and it's because I wanted it,
Mm.
because it helped. It helped me. It got me out of a pit, right? And so it was very important to me. Sarah Ann says that she's on spring break at the end of April. We're in the third
Ours
week.
is the
We're
middle.
we're the third week of April. Todd says that I was in school back in the '80s, and I regret getting in trouble because I put my old teachers in distress when I was a little kid back then. Listen, I went to the school in '70s and '80s too, and I'm gonna tell you, I graduated high school with a 1.82. I got whipped more than you could ever imagine. Probably what they did to me is illegal. Okay, just nobody said anything to them, right? But what I was doing to them was probably illegal too. So there's that. So I understand that. So what do we need to do tonight? What do we need to do? Um, Couple things, and I'm going to go through them really, really quick, and I'm going to let Doc jump in on it. First of all, mandatory recess. You got to have times where you shut down all education related stuff and you focus on things that bring you joy. I list three things right here. First of all is the 5 minute reset, which you can get down in the description box. We got to work up to a 24-hour period and then a 1 week period of recess. I use the word recess because nobody likes the word Sabbath. And I don't know why,
Mm.
because that's rest. Doc, how does this impact our health whenever we find mandatory times of recess to just
So
stop?
right. So the bottom line is this. We have to shift the way that we approach things. And we need to reteach our nervous system how to move forward. Something as simple as going from, oh, I should do this, I got to do this, I need to do this, to, oh, I'm deciding to do this right now is huge. And you
Yes.
think, okay, that sounds really basic. Mm-mm. It's very big. And it goes back to the little things make a big difference. And
Yes.
when we can structure, when we can, oh my goodness, when we have that hierarchy and it's structured like that, it provides our brains a way and some steps in order to follow. Again, when things are written down, it it helps us. Following kind of that structure helps us. It's making things more possible. And that's what, and we need to keep our eyes on that and operating from and finding that place of peace.
That's right. So the second thing that we need to do, and this is where the rubber meets the road
Mhm.
because it's decision time,
Mm.
is part of the power of enough when you complete it is you get to the enough statement. And there's a place for you to sign it in the power of enough. I have done what is necessary, meaningful, and sustainable for today. That is enough. I'm allowed to rest. I'm guarding my heart because everything I do flows from it. That is a declaration. Doc, how important is it for us to declare that?
It's incredibly important because oftentimes we haven't declared anything. So when there's nothing declared, it's
Mhm.
almost like a free for all. And that's where the overwhelmed feelings come from. That's when the shutdown starts. That's when the disengagement happens.
Mhm.
And that's when everything is impacted.
Yep.
Not only how we feel at work, our relationships with family members, friends, coworkers, how we even our self-talk
Yes.
can be impacted. So
Yes.
it's super, super important to be aware and cognizant
That's
of
right.
that.
I remember, in the Proverbs that the writer points out that the power of life and death is in the tongue. Our
Mhm.
words, they don't have the ability to create anything, but they do have the ability to shape things, the way
Mhm.
we think about ourselves. Because the writer of the Proverbs says, as a man thinks, so he is. The
Mhm.
way we think about ourselves, the way we talk to ourselves, the things that we speak with our mouth, they have a profound effect over how we end up living our life.
Mhm.
And if we're going to change, at the end of the day, the measure by which we measure a good day and success, then we have to say it.
Mhm.
We
Say
have
it and
to
write
re-
it
we have to repeat it.
over and over.
We have to write it. If you notice at the bottom of that thing, it said to tape it onto your laptop or your computer
Mhm.
so that every single time things get hard, you can look at it and you can be reminded of what it takes to do enough. and you can be reminded of the power of enough. And so, one of the things that I've learned about education, and you probably learned it too, is there's all kinds of unspoken rules in education, and you don't know about them until you become a teacher. Nobody, it's not in your HR manual, it's not in your EDU classes, nobody sits down and tells you about it, but you learn about them once you get into education. So, if you're interested in those types of things, and if you want to know about those unspoken rules, you can view them right here at this video. Check it out. And until we see you the next time, I want you to stay strong and keep teaching. So, going to turn it over to the community right now. We've got a pile of people in here. If you have a question or something you want to talk about, we can hang out for the next little while and try to answer those or try to talk with you. If we don't see anything in just a little bit, we're going to jump off. The couple things I want to remind you of: if you want to get in contact with Lisa, right there, you can do that. Dr. Pender, all about solutions. You can catch up with her. I think I can't remember what resource we attached to that, but you can get it right there.
Pretty sure it's
I
that
can't
thing.
remember what it was. You can all of our resources. You can get it right there at the QR code or down in the description box. Either way, it doesn't matter how you get it. Just make sure you go get them. They're there for you. We created them for you. And also, as it relates to the power of enough, if you want the power of enough coaching strategy from Teacher Talk, you can get it right there. It's in the chat. You can get the link right there, and you can have it in your inbox before we ever sign off on this thing. Appreciate right there. I can't see that. Papa
Papa,
DV. Yep.
Papa
Appreciate you,
DV.
man. Thank you for your kind words. And I forgot to take that thing off the screen. I got to get it off there. If there is nothing else, if there
Can I
is
just say
nothing,
one thing before you
yep,
pop off?
sure
Okay.
can.
Oh, pop off. That's the kids say that for a bad thing now. But anyways, we threw a lot at you guys tonight, especially those that might be struggling a little bit. Just take a minute, and if one thing really stood out for you, it could be anything, whatever it might have been. Just try to write it down, even if it's in your phone. I know that this will be back up on Teacher Talk as a
Yep.
video, and you could go back and watch it.
Yep.
But also, one of the things I tell people a lot are make alarms in your phone as reminders, because
Yep.
sometimes we go through the whole day and we kind of
Yep.
forget what we were supposed to be focused on. So that
Sure
might
do.
help. So again, we threw a lot of strategies at you. Just try to pick one, and just it's one step at a time, and it's one small, awesome
Yep.
growth at a time.
Yeah. Hey, just before everybody runs off and before we sign off right here, right quick, is drop a one in the chat if you would appreciate it if we would go a little bit further in depth on this topic right here, or if you have a different topic you'd like for us to discuss, go ahead and put that in the chat, and we'll discuss that one. So just before we go. Oh my goodness gracious, look at that. This channel has been a blessing. I finally get it after 30 years. I appreciate that so much, Lee. That is wonderful. And that is our goal, is to help teachers. That's why we're here. There's no other reason why we even exist other than to help teachers. So I appreciate that. Once again, if you like this topic and you want us to go a little bit further with us, drop a one down in the chat, or if you got a different topic, drop it in there, and we will get on that topic as well. Yeah, there it is. Crystal Moore, 7805. All right. Thank you, Crystal Moore. Hey, I think this is the first time you've been here. I appreciate that. Also, wanted to mention, golly, see, I am so bad at YouTube. All right, a couple things. All right. Our memberships are open now. I think you can get those right there where you're at on the phone. If you want to be a member and you want to support Teacher Talk, go ahead, because we're going to have members only live streams and members only content that's going to be coming out just for you. Again, that's how we keep the lights on. That's how we keep making content, because it costs a fortune to keep up with all the stuff that I have to do in order to be able to have content. Not to mention how much I have to pay Dr. Pender just to be here. It's a fortune to get her here.
I just kidding.
Okay, that's not true. That's not true. All right, Crystal, yes, appreciate you. Thank you for all you do. Appreciate that. But thank you so much for encouraging us, because that is a big deal. All right. If you've been helped tonight, we appreciate you, and God bless you, and we'll see you next Sunday. Okay. See ya.